Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to Rose Cottage Acres. I've been working pretty much nonstop all weekend on the most important thing you can do in August, and that is planting new things in your garden. I mean, it seems a little crazy. It's the middle of summer. Half the stuff is dying. The other half of the stuff is still producing bucket loads, and the last thing you want to do is put in a garden. But if you don't, you won't end up with fall and winter harvests. And, it's awesome to go out in the middle of the winter and pick yourself some fresh chard or some fresh spinach or pull up a couple carrots. It's just, there's nothing like it. Sick of winter, sick of all this food, even the food you've been putting up, it just doesn't taste as fresh. And you can go right out to your garden and pick a fresh salad. So the time to start with planting for fall and winter is now, especially if you're in zone 7 like I am and you want to squeeze in just one more round of summer squash. You have probably just enough time to get one more round of summer squash, and you've got to get your squash in this week or next week if you're in zone 7 to have any chance of having a harvest. Check the squash to see which ones are really fast maturing. Put them in the ground. Keep them watered. You've got to water really well during the summer. Also with spinach and things like that, if you're going to put that in this week, you need to make sure you put it somewhere where it's kind of shaded by other plants. That's the key to success, is they don't like to be too hot or they won't germinate. And seriously, water every day. The reason I put everything in this weekend is because we're about to have 4 days of solid rain, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's going to really help everything germinate. So right now I am getting my tomatoes that I had dehydrated. I have dehydrated tomatoes before, but these are the cherries. I really love dehydrating cherry tomatoes because there's so much more meat to them that they make a really, really great kind of sun-dried tasting tomato for the winter. So some of these still have not dried. I'll be taking the dry ones off and putting the other ones on for a little longer. But they're going to be frozen, so it's okay regardless. They're not going to mold in the freezer. Now, in case you're wondering why I am dehydrating tomatoes and then putting them in the freezer, for one thing, this took up so much more room before I dehydrated it. And for another thing, it actually concentrates the flavor so amazingly. So I actually put these guys in a few days ago, and then I had to add more seed because germination isn't as good usually in the middle of the summer. But these are giant spinach. And it gets some shade here. It's not really, really intense sun like some of the other areas, so I'm hoping it'll be okay. If you spot the hornworm on here, tell me where it is, because I saw him, I went to get some stuff, and when I came back he was gone. I'm hoping a bird ate him, because he is massive. There's no way I'm overlooking him still. I've been all over the plant, but he's gone. Anyway, so this is another thing you really should consider, and that is a few weeks after I had my other tomatoes out, I started more seeds. So I've got these black Russians that are finally starting to develop, and some Vernaise cherry, and I've got them around different spots. This is going to provide another burst of tomatoes just as my other ones are dying off. This is what cabbage looks like when you're organic, and kale. You do get the little holes. So I'm going to get a really good second harvest from all these tomatoes as my other tomatoes just completely die off. So one thing you might notice is that all my little starts coming up here from seed, these I put in about 2 weeks ago, I think. They have a lot of little nibbles on their leaves and stuff. You're going to have pest pressure when you sow in the summer months, and it's going to be a little tough. So I get my seeds from My Gardener. They're 99 cents a pack, and I just sow a row, keep some seeds back, and add in wherever there are gaps when things eat them. You know, it's the reality of summer sowing. But then in the winter, when you're pulling these great turnips out of the ground, because this will be covered with Ag 19 fabric, and it'll overwinter pretty well. But you know, when you're picking your harvest fresh from the ground, it's going to be worth it to have struggled a little bit to get everything started. I think Purple Lady Bok Choy is really sporadic with its germination anyway, but I think it got a little eaten too, so I'm going to have to come in and resow this next. Oh look, this is the Alyssa Craig Giant Onion. That's my most giant onion for my giant onions. It's absolutely puny, about 1.5 inches across. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm going to figure out onions. I can grow a decent crop from the starts that you get, but when I start them myself from seed, I'm still not doing something right. This is also a space that will be pretty much overwintered. I'm going to be harvesting these cabbages soon when they head up just a little more, and then I'll be able to plant the other half of that little greenhouse too. But I've got a lot of carrots and collards and things like that, red beets in here, and I'll add more of the same, and in the middle of winter I'll be able to come out and pick stuff. This is a really cute little greenhouse that I was actually able to get from a German grocery store that opened up around here called Liddell. So another thing to keep in mind, get some compost, give it a good feed here. You want to make sure that the soil isn't depleted. So I've got scoops of compost that I've been putting in each bed as I seed things, and it is helping. The purple sprouting broccoli was the first thing I put in. I put it in about 3 weeks ago, and it is really getting hit hard, but it's growing still. So these are my other second wave tomatoes. You can see vigorous and really growing and starting to put out these really nice, I believe this is an ox heart, so it should be huge beefsteaky type tomatoes. These guys here also massive, but these are these are the second wave tomatoes. So this is why you want the second wave tomatoes. These sad husks. And Purple Russian, they really can't hold up to the heat. I've got a couple of tomatoes still on them, so I haven't yanked them out completely yet. But I don't think that black fabric helped. So next year, when I put them down and put the fabric, I'm going to make sure I cover it completely with straw or something too, to have it be less, you know, a couple weeks in, we want to cover it with straw. The first couple weeks, they really like the extra heat, but after that, it's too much for them, and they look terrible. Now this guy, he's a monster. That's the interestingly shaped, what do they call it, the Trombolini squash. That's in the zucchini family. It's so mild that it's almost too mild. It doesn't really have that, you know, real zucchini taste to it, but it's definitely nice to have something still growing this vigorously back here. So I'll probably plant it again next year. I don't know. I mean, the garden is really struggling because I have been doing a little bit of watering, but not very much, and we haven't had rain for a little bit, and it's been hot. But of course the sweet potatoes are like celebrating over here. They've gone crazy. The peanuts aren't unhappy. Sorghum, doing okay. And the yacon, I don't know what to expect from this stuff. I thought it was supposed to turn into a monster, and it's kind of just like piddling around over here. Perennial cow. Boy, he's been beat up. Now, this was my second succession of green beans. I've got a third succession that hasn't started blooming yet, and a fourth one I just put in the ground. So I'm hoping to be able to make some dilly beans. That's the only way that you can safely can green beans with the water bath canning. So just make sure if you're just starting out in canning that you look into what things are safe to water bath can and what things you need to pressure can. Amaranth, you can use these leaves and eat them as a salad green or kind of like a spinach substitute. I do not, for obvious reasons. Other people beat me to them. But the green heads are setting up here. And then the peas, I'm trying to get the peas to sprout. They're doing better on this side. These are snow peas. Let me have to try again. Soya long cucumber has about bit the dust. Zucchinis are getting there. My little tree is doing okay. And these guys are finally, they're just having a party over here. Look at them. It's a good thing I decided I like okra because I have okra everywhere. That's my last of the giant pumpkins that's decent sized. The ones that were bigger than my actual giant pumpkin I was trying to grow. And there's some more zucchini coming on. If they hold on just for a couple more days, I'll have another really big flush of zucchini before these guys finish off. Yeah, this is what happens to us, the garden in the summer. Things die and you have to bring new things in to take their place or your garden will stop producing altogether. And if you're going on vacation or something, maybe that's okay, but I want to keep going until the frost, and I want to have things in the ground growing actually after the frost as well. This is the third succession of string beans. You can see they're just getting blossoms, they're just coming on. So things like this, I make sure I really keep watered, whereas things that are kind of finishing up anyway, I don't really worry about. And these, I think I've talked about before, these 5 tomatoes are my experiment. They're the Moluccan winter tomatoes. And you actually let them all bloom and set fruit, and then you yank them right out of the ground and tie them up upside down somewhere, and they slowly ripen and give you a more natural tasting winter tomato. So they're doing okay. So this is the first year I have peaches that actually developed on the tree. They're almost ready. That one might be ready. Yeah, that one looks like it is ready. They're not the most beautiful fruit, but they're my own peaches and completely organic, so I'm pleased about that. So yeah, I had tried out flower farming this year. It was not at all unsuccessful. I was able to keep waves of flowers going. I'm thinking to do something that's a little less, not necessarily less labor intensive, but less constant. So that's why I'm kind of playing around with the idea of possibly doing a plant nursery. I'm pretty decent at propagation, and the big thing is to find things that are not patented and that you are allowed to propagate. But I found a couple resources, and I'm bringing in some stock plants, and I'll see how it goes. So if I decide it's for me, of course, I will have to get licensed by the state. You cannot just start selling shrubs and trees willy-nilly. They need to make sure that they are healthy, vigorous plants, and it is very important to be responsible and make sure that you don't bring in any pests. Thank you for hanging out with me as I walk through the garden and talk about some of my future plans.